Uh, everybody thinks that it's Ask RVD 7 days a week. No, I think because the stuff just stays up on Twitter or whatever. So they're like, "Hey, I got a good question."
Right. Uh, all right. Hey, everybody. This is Dominic D'Angelo. I'm on the Premier Streaming Network. I'm on ad free shows and several other outlets, but I am here today with none other than Mr. Monday Night himself. He's almost every day of the week at this point. It is WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. Rob Van Dam. Rob, episode, I think it's 22? Episode 22. Yes.
Sounds about right, dude. I think that's about one more after last week's 21st episode. So,
I'm not too good at arithmetic.
yeah,
Maybe that's it.
well, whatever. Are you gonna keep doing that forever, no matter what number we're on?
Should I? I can stop.
This will be our 73rd episode.
70, episode 73, I believe, Rob.
I don't know, man, but
Yeah.
but we're jamming. Numbers are going up of people catching it, and I always enjoy their feedback and knowing that people enjoy the show. You know, for more than one reason. Sometimes,
Right.
if it really helps them out a lot and stuff because they get some advice or something they can add to their life process, and that's awesome. And otherwise, if they laugh at your hilarious stories from being on the road.
One or the other happening. I tell you what, people have been getting a real kick out of the Samoa Joe hot dog story. So
Yeah. Put the hot dog down.
put the hot dog down.
Yeah, I'll always laugh at that one.
Well, hey, it should be a good one this week. We're gonna do a little Ask Rob Anything. So we got a whole bunch of Ask RVD questions coming up. First, though, I haven't hit this in a little bit, but let's look at a little feedback going on this week here. Where is it at here? My cat is crying.
I heard that.
Did you hear it? Razor's making some noise here. All right, feedback number 1. Always loved all the singlets. Michael Hayes, LOL. Tie-dye get the hell out of here. So it's like Michael. So how was it overall? The reason I put that one up there is how was it overall working with Michael Hayes and your relationship with him?
Well, I guess just like with a lot of the Office guys, the longer I had worked with them, the more I knew them, the older I got, the more I could appreciate them as just other flesh creatures trying to hold a job. You know what I mean? At first, they represent authority, so it's a little different perspective. But then eventually, it's like we're all doing the same thing, as adults. So I liked Michael. I don't remember ever having a specific problem with him. If I did, I don't think I did. If I did, it must have just been some little disagreement over an opinion that washed off because I don't even remember.
How was he overall with talent and handling that and interacting with them pretty well? Did he get along with everybody pretty well? And was he pretty good with creative input when it comes to certain people and stuff? Or weren't you too much in that vicinity of it all, I guess?
I really don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know if I've seen him in his environment. Like if he's one of the guys, which I think he was, that sat around the night's table, and pitched ideas and pitched who to push, who not to push, why to go this way, not the other way. I was never privy to any of those conversations, so I can only imagine using educated feedback, Dreamer used to be in those meetings, so he would tell me what was said in them. Sometimes I would have a little insight as to who was really against me or if anybody was for me or whatever. But outside of that, though, to see all those people communicate with each other on that level was something that I never really wanted to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you either. It's just like, hey, that's not my. Yeah. You don't want to get mixed up in all that kind of stuff. And it's
Yeah, let me know once the idea gets ironed out a little more and you got something to present to me.
right. Right.
'Cause I know there's a lot that goes into the politicking and egos and favors and fear of job validation and so much that it just really seems like it wouldn't be the place for me.
Right. It's just a whole nother aspect that's just like, and plus, yeah, in that kind of environment of like, not that it's that, I mean, it is a corporate environment, but also that aspect of
Office.
all kind of, yeah, office stuff. It's just not your bag for sure. All right. Maybe you can tell me about, I don't know what this means. RVD is a effing Chad. Watching him fight Big Show in ECW was so badass. Is Chad a term for something that I don't know?
It is, but I don't know what it means. I've heard
Yeah.
it before. But
Like I've heard Chad almost be the thing that they call a Karen, but that doesn't make sense in this regard. So I don't know what the hell that means. How'd you like working with Big Show?
I loved working with Big Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a self-made story that is. Anytime he's wrestling anybody, he's the big guy, he's the giant. It's the David and Goliath um that you have to overcome. The It's obvious, it's just right there in their face. How are you going to wrestle this giant? What are you going to do that is going to work, and how are you going to stay away from him getting a hold of you? And I enjoyed that. I used to like running around the ring and forcing him to really catch me, try and blow him up. He got better at that quick though. It made it harder when I started wrestling him every night. But I like him, and had some great matches with him, and I like the idea of let's pick a leg and start chopping at it and try to use some psychology here to bring him down to his knees so he's my size. I like doing the jumping Superman punch on him that was before the other guys were doing it, by the way. I punch him, jump up and punch him, and Sabu was like, damn, I wish I would have thought of that. It just made sense. And I remember one particular time, the hardcore match, because this would be probably the only time I used the fire extinguisher. But I used to squirt him with the fire extinguisher, and he put the chair up to block the fire extinguisher spray, and then he got a Van Daminator, for his
awesome.
yeah. So I always like being able to use the stuff wisely if it's there and try to make sense out of it. And normally you wouldn't have a fire extinguisher, or believe it or not, a kitchen sink underneath the ring normally.
No, you don't find that stuff there.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. Like those storytelling elements go into the play with that, because my brother did a special episode of the Jake the Snake podcast with Raven, and Raven was talking about how that's such an important aspect of making a hardcore match stand out more, is utilizing it in different manners to make it make sense, and having like a fire extinguisher against somebody like the Big Show, but then him shielding it with the chair. It's like cool elements that you're adding to make those hardcore matches, not just, hey, I'm just fucking smacking somebody with a chair over and over, or like, here's thumbtacks. It's just like, there's those other elements. I think
because overall, when it comes to, like, say, the death matches, which is kind of, I guess, what hardcore matches have become, it seems.
Yeah, for a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
For a lot of it, but they will probably always have the reputation of being storyless, pointless, and just obligatory violence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of times they are, and a lot of times they are for people that don't have that much talent as wrestlers to call themselves wrestlers. And I know a lot of people take offense to that, and there's a lot of fans of death matches. But even then, I mean, is there a difference between a good death match and a bad death match? I would hope there's a difference. I don't know.
I can't really. I mean, there's some that I've been kind of entertained by, but honestly, like my threshold for that kind of stuff is like, hey, I can see one match and then I'm good for like a year. You know, I don't need to see another one for a while. It's just like I've got my fill, and that was interesting, but I don't need to see it again for a while. Mm-hmm. So different strokes for different folks, I guess. But I like the storytelling aspects that come with hardcore matches that kind of make it fun. So, all right.
And a lot of what I've seen from the death matches, the story is who's going to get to that staple gun first.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's it too.
Yeah.
But I look back at like when Terry Funk fought Anita in the exploding C4 match and stuff like that in '94. But they made the story about like, I don't want to touch that barbed wire. Like I don't want to get
and they even get thrown into the ropes, like stopping before you.
That was, you saw the fear in both of them. They didn't want to get entered like into that barbed wire. So that was kind of a neat aspect. So feedback moment here. Would love to see a bout between you and Edge and show them youngins a thing or two. Yeah. How was it? Did you ever have like singles matches with Edge before and stuff? I'm trying to think about that.
Yes, I did. And always, really good matches. Not that RVD has bad matches, but Edge is definitely someone that's excited about the opportunity to work and bring in any creative input, ideas. Edge is someone that's definitely motivated. So similar to Christian in that way. If I know I'm going to work either one of them, I know they're going to be like thinking of all kinds of stuff in their head already, imagining it. And that's it's fun to work with guys like that.
Right. And then it's like them growing up together, you kind of see that whole element of their love for wrestling, but it's also they've kind of made their own path a lot of the ways in the business too. And it's neat to see that. And that kind of generation also carry on that, like alongside, guys like you and guys like Matt Hardy and Jeff and all that stuff. It's pretty neat to all that. See still come to fruition in a lot of ways. So
yeah, that'd be awesome to work with Edge.
Absolutely. You guys could tell a great story for sure. All right. Okay, so this was we talked about Maven. So Quentin Beck 7035 says, "Oh, please bring Maven here on your podcast. I'm sure Maven RVD have a lot of catching up to do. How much interaction have you had with Maven?"
Not a ton, enough to stand with him a few minutes and, hey man, good seeing you. He was around, I didn't travel with him and have a lot of adventures with him, but he was someone that would be in conversation in the dressing room. Strangely, when I first started naring in 2001, when I went to WWE, because I just grew my hair out all over my body in ECW, and in 2001, like I started shaving. And it was Maven was one of the guys that was telling me about Nair. It was Stevie Richards and Maven. I think Stevie got Maven on it, if I'm not mistaken. And they were telling me, dude, it's so easy. Just wipe this stuff all over, give it 10 minutes, then you just rinse off. And because I was cutting myself all over with the razor, doing a horrible job.
You're like legit shaving yourself like that.
Yeah. Deep gaffs everywhere. Oh, wow, I see the white skin. Those don't bleed for a couple of seconds. That's gonna come out pretty soon and be bad. And then and leaving patches of hair everywhere, which Nair does anyway. But you learn where it's not gonna work, and you can plan around that. But strangely, I connect Maven to those memories of when I was first experimenting with Nair in the showers at the arenas, and those guys were telling me that that's the way to go.
Well, Nair, if you leave it on for too long, doesn't it start burning you? Isn't that true?
It does, but I don't care. You know.
Okay, so it's not like, oh my god, I gotta get this shit off me. It's not like that.
No, I'll break out in a rash a lot of times. There's certain spots, like inside my elbow, on the inside. Like for some reason, it always will break out in a rash there. So I just don't put it there.
Yeah,
and then I shave it. But my groin, like this sensitive skin there, for some reason it breaks out in a rash there. And if I leave it too long anywhere, my chest, stomach, I'll have like little red bumps, but I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's there for a few days and then it goes away.
Yeah.
So I don't want a rash, but it's better than not leaving it on long enough, going through all the trouble, rinsing it off and everything, and then finding out that you're still hairy because you fucked it up. And didn't let it do its thing.
Now, did somebody tell you when you went to WWE, like, hey, you should start doing this kind of thing, or was it just like, oh,
No, it was something that I just wanted to do. The universe told me, and it was the right time to do it.
yeah, oh, okay. Now, did any when you were in ECW, was there a lot of ECW guys that would do that kind of stuff, or was it just like, fuck this?
No, I didn't really notice.
Yeah.
And one reason I wouldn't have noticed is because ECW did not as nice buildings, and you wouldn't normally be in a dressing room with showers kind of environment if you're at the fucking Jim Thorpe bar that's sliding down the mountain.
The mountainside.
Yeah, and even we did a lot of like armories or shitty little yeah. I mean, so it's a little different when you're in WWE and you're at a convention center or a civic center and you're there all day long because you're doing promos in the daytime, and some people got to get dressed at 1:00 to do vignettes, and other people aren't getting dressed till 7. But there's that interaction, everyone coming through. It's that in itself is way different with ECW and with a lot of indie shows. As soon as the match is done, the guys leave. And I used to think like, ooh, like how can they do that without showering? They got the other guys sweat on them and all that. And it is nasty, but I get it because sometimes I'm in those kind of buildings and I'm like, I'm already gross. I'm going to be gross another 20 minutes till I get to my hotel room or whatever, so be it. So be it.
I have to exist like this for a little bit.
Other than everybody pile into one dirty little shower where the hot water probably doesn't work anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that's hard times right there.
Yeah, no, save the nair for, when you're in the hotel room or before you're home or something.
Yeah, when you're certainly sure that you have some hot water cooking.
Yeah. Some of those buildings you don't even want to brush your teeth in.
Oh, God. I could imagine. Jeez. Okay, so that was it for the feedback. What I wanted to cover here too was we started weeks ago was somebody made a mention of like, hey, the dream, like you talked about wanting to fight Mike Awesome, and then people started chiming in about like who they'd love to see you battle. So I wrote up a list of those comments that people made. So I figured we hit that again real quick. Somebody brought up in the comments section a while back was Kenny Omega. Obviously he's one of the top stars, modern stars, and has put on some amazing matches, and people can be a polarizing wrestler for some because of the style that he wrestles and certain things like that. But how do you think you'd work with Kenny, and what do you think of him overall as a wrestler and performer?
I think that he's very talented, obviously, and he has great matches that entertain a lot of fans. And on the other side, I feel like he's representative of the new culture of wrestling, which I will divide specifically by saying that I'm from a culture of wrestlers that wrestled in front of a crowd that believed what they were seeing was a shoot. And then the new culture is wrestlers that came up wrestling in front of a crowd that thinks it's a work, so they give them a work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's, in the regards of, hey, the fans are in on this, and I am kind of allowing that, and they're aware of it, so it doesn't necessarily mean I can take some of the storytelling elements or the old school elements, the believable elements out of it in certain ways.
I mean, I feel like you're, that's your follow up. That's not putting those words.
Yeah, I'm not putting words in your mouth.
For me, it's not even the crowd being aware. It's more of just a perception that the crowd has, and then the perception that the entertainer has, and then in fact, the result that comes from that being its true, real existence. In other words, back in the day, we slapped the shit out of each other hard because, that's what the style was for the crowd. But it wasn't about whether the crowd was in or not. We were really doing that because that's what we were doing. Likewise, wrestlers coming up now as fans that their perception is, hey, it's scripted, they're all working together. They come up, they get into it, they take over, they're working with fans that are even underneath them, another layer away from where we were prospectively. And I see that, you know, the product and the end result that they give them is more of a manifestation of their thoughts of what it was. So, you know, go back to the Sheik that was ahead of me.
Mhm.
You know, they beat the crap out of each other and they stabbed each other and they made each other bleed, and that was part of it. That was part of it. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, just how the style kind of lays out. It's a different way for it. I get that.
Yeah, I mean, how they felt about each other, whether they were buddies or hated each other or whatever, you know, ooh, big tongue in cheek, you know, oh, you know, I got the inside scoop, you know, like, hey, big deal. They're performers. We're all performers. But specifically when it comes to the style, you know, we always had an expression that we would describe somebody that was really good. You know, that would be the compliment that I would want someone to say if someone said, "Hey, you know, can Rob Van Dam work?" If someone in the industry said, "Dude, he could have a fucking good match with a broomstick," that was a way to describe talent back then. However, we wouldn't want to actually have a match with a broomstick and show that we're having a match with a broomstick.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It kind
And
of exposes a little bit about what it is that you're doing when you're flipping and flopping and getting thrown around there. I don't think the broomstick's doing it to you.
no, the broomstick's not. That's not the. But you hear about like, hey, Ric Flair can do that kind of stuff. Rick Rude could do that stuff. It's like that's the reputation, but that's a huge compliment. But you don't want to exemplify that to the fans, I guess.
You want to go out there and show everybody.
Right.
Like,
You don't
yeah,
want
I don't know. You know, the Invisible Man match to me exposes a little bit. You know, I'm pretty sure Sheik would have cut my throat if I told him I want to do an Invisible Man match. You know,
Did you see the man wrestle a tent in the ring? There was a wrestler that wrestled a tent. He
a
was like
tent?
a
Oh,
tent.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I think I
Yeah.
saw part of that. I
Yeah.
saw enough of it anyway.
I saw enough of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? For me, as open-minded as I am, you know, I have a certain perspective about something that I've invested and spent my whole life doing, and so I'm going to be offended more than someone that's like, well, just look at it as art, you know, whatever. But I mean, for me, it's like, dude, I want to choke him with the tent.
Right. Yeah.
I want to wrap it around his throat and choke him. So
Yeah. Let's go camping.
that's it. But I mean, it's just my beliefs. You know, we all have our own beliefs, our own values, of course, but this is in something that if you don't think that I qualify to be a specialist in this field after all the years that I put in it, and if you think that that doesn't change how qualified my opinion should be, then, you know, you need to open up your own mind. But looking at it from my perspective, you know, that's not wrestling. I mean, okay, you can have a match with a tent. Can you have a match with Big Van Vader?
Right. Right. That's the aspect. That's, that's what people should like want to see. A lot of people like, you
I
know.
mean, he's dead. I just brought up a dead guy because I was just thinking about a really big, stiff motherfucker that would have, you know, broken that guy's face,
Right.
blast in the corner. But
Would you want to fucking fight Bruiser Brody? Like
there you
that's
go, right?
yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, you can have a three-way. You in the tent.
You and Bruiser Brody.
Uh,
He's got a Boy Scout outfit on. He just fucking blew it.
I know how that would end up. I think I know how that
Right.
match turned up.
I think I would too. Yeah.
Mm.
Cool, Rob. Well, as I ask every week, did you watch wrestling this week?
Um, I did not. No, I did not. Just a few clips on social media again.
Did you see the trailer for the Iron Claw movie by chance?
No, I forgot about that. I didn't click play on it, but I did see the post and it caught my interest. Yeah.
It's really
It's about the Von Erichs, right?
yeah about the Von Erichs and Zac Efron plays Kevin Von Erich, and then the guy from The Bear, that cooking show or whatever, he plays Carrie, and then there's a lot of good other names in there too. The trailer was really good. It's like,
Oh, I'll check it out. And it's going to be at the theater, I saw.
yeah, December 22nd, I think it comes out to theaters.
Okay.
So should be a fun one, man. Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Big talk of the week has been the NXT AEW Tuesday night battle, and NXT WWE loaded up their card for that. Paul Heyman was there, John Cena was there, Cody Rhodes was there, and they ended up besting AEW in the ratings. People have been talking about that a lot, but I thought it was pretty fascinating because Paul Heyman was on the show, like I said, but he was interacting with The Rock's daughter, who's Ava Raine in NXT, and so he was talking to her about the bloodline. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts in regards to Heyman. It's just how good is he just interacting with talent and building the best out of and bringing the best out of talent overall like that. Somebody like young that like the Rock's daughter there, who's relatively new in the business and everything like that. What elements can he kind of bring to a young talent that really stands out about Paul?
I believe Paul could bring everything to the table and lay it all out for her. He has a great understanding, not of just what to do, but why to do it. And you have to truly understand it. If you're going to know, just to know like what the right thing to say is, in order to really understand that, you have to know why is that the right thing to say. Same thing with the right thing to do, the right thing to act, the right people to talk to, whatever, like everything, like there's a reason for everything, which is RVDology. It's crazy when people say, is there a reason you have to do this? Boom, 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 boom. Of course, everything has a reason. Absolutely. I don't think there's an exception to that. I think there's a reason to everything. But to understand, that's like a whole nother level. And Paul's very smart about the business, about industry, about seeing everything all the way through, so that he can see the outcome. And that's important. Sometimes when I'm acting, I'll be like in a group scene, and we have our dialogue. Sometimes I will choose how to say a line and I'll just commit to it because it makes sense to me.
Right.
So my line, we're talking, and my line is, I don't care, right? Boom, boom, boom. When it comes to me, I say it the way that I want to say it. I feel like that's my choice as an actor, and I'll be like, I don't care, boom, boom. Next time we do it again, maybe I'll say it again like that, or I'll try it a little different. Like, I don't care, whatever. If, we in between scenes or whatever, this happens so often. A director or even a veteran actor will come up to me and he'll just to help me out, he'll be like, Rob, that's just a throwaway line. Which means you just, boom, a throwaway line, you don't put any enunciation into it, you throw it out there, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's it. How does he know that's the right way to say it, though? Like, how does the director know? How does that experienced actor know? How the fuck do I not know? Like, what is it that I'm not getting? And that happens fairly often. Even as long as I've been acting, it's not odd for that to happen. Every once in a while, I come up and say, hey, that's just a throwaway line there. And I'm just like, they're able to see the outcome before, the whole thing takes place. And that's something that I wish I had the foresight to be able to do. If I could read a script and actually picture it like I already saw the movie, that'd make everything so much easier, so much better. But instead, until it comes together, like I still don't see it all how it's going to be and everything. I'm not, a great natural actor, like people that just have it and they just like, I just need my chance to show it and be discovered. Fuck no, that's not me. I'm thankful for every opportunity I have, but that's one thing, to be completely honest and give full disclosure. Sometimes I lack that ability to be able to see the whole thing as if it's already came out, visualize like this whole conversation already took place, and then they go into the other facts. These people, they came from somewhere. What were they doing? They're going somewhere. Where all this is on the actors' minds to make it really real. And sometimes, man, some of that'll pass me by, and it's like I feel like in order for someone to really be valuable in the industry of wrestling or entertainment in the way that our friend Mr. Heyman is that we're talking about right now. He's very good at that, at making the whole show around the visualization that he's able to put together. And that's a fucking hell of a gift, I think.
Oh yeah, and especially with wrestling too, because it's such a big element of different characters and different elements that you bring into one show in particular. So I'm able to see, but like as a talent too, and it's like you're not taking away from your own creativity of stuff, but it's just like being into him being able to step back and take a look at the whole picture of everything. It does take a unique mind for that kind of outlet to do, but in the same element he can't do the stuff that you can do either, so he just knows how to implement it in other ways. So it's
there's just it's all about there's the right choices and the wrong choices, and the better you are at making all the right choices, the more valuable you are.
yeah, I tell you what too, putting Ava Rain or at least even having her associate with Heyman is good stuff, like going on, and sets a foundation and a tone for her moving forward in a lot of ways. So pretty cool stuff. But something else that got talked about a lot was Tony Khan tweeting this week. He was very vocal on there, but I kind of wanted to get your perspective too, because we've talked about social media on here and how people just go out, say stuff and people get caught up into it all. Your outlook overall, just with social media and wrestling, how is the good balance for it, do you think, for talent specifically, I would say?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Okay, so let's go by. Say you are obviously you're a Hall of Famer. If you're a talent to that level, with social media and pro wrestling, just in general, is there a certain way to handle it best that you think is ultimate for the wrestler themselves?
Well, I mean, it's going to be circumstantial for the wrestler, their values, how much they want to be in touch with their fan base and the community. The best would be if you could just post and not even read people's stuff at all.
Yeah.
That's great. Then just, I remember when I went to WWE, one of my returns, I think it was the 2013 one, and I had just missed a training session for Twitter that the wrestlers had been put through.
Oh.
So they were talking about that and stuff, and a couple of guys were telling me a couple of things. I can't remember what, but we were on our phones looking at it, talking about Twitter, and for some reason Randy Orton came up, and then boom, and I looked at his, and I was like, whoa, he's got 4 million followers, and he follows 0, or maybe he followed one person or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And they jumped like, yeah, he didn't used to do that. He just unfollowed everybody because it makes him look good. And I always remember, like, is that like a technique? Like, is that something that you do that somehow like gets the algorithm in your favor or something?
Probably.
Probably.
That actually. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Because I heard every time I follow someone that's got less followers than me, it brings my rating down, but everyone's got less followers than me as far as fans. And anyway, it depends on what somebody wants. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes too accessible to be able to have back and forth conversation with people of a different intelligence level. But then sometimes it's cool to be able to be so in touch. So it just depends on what they want, any individual, what they want out of their relationship with the social, what do you call it? Social
contingency.
Society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And to go back to RVDology too, I remember you saying too that it's like I can't remember what the aspect was, but you were necessarily saying that like, hey, you. Oh, it's what was it? Like image almost is like or perception, I think it was, where you were talking about like, hey, you're on there interacting and people know who you are, but a lot of these fans that interact and like say what they want, they don't really have anything to lose. They like they can just say whatever. They don't have to have their picture on there. It's like there's that other element of hey, how do people perceive you and all that kind of aspect. So it's like there's
Yeah.
that balance too for a talent and or a celebrity for that matter, whoever.
No, that's very true. When I'm on Twitter and I say something and post it, I'm not like everybody else that has no consequences to what
Yeah,
they say because I have to be accountable because I'm a public figure.
that's it.
So, if I say I hate, that's going to come back on me. You, the listener, you can say that. Nobody cares. You know, you only have three friends anyway. And, well, I mean, I'm just saying perspectively. I'm just saying, or not perspectively, but proportionally.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like whatever group of people you have that are going to hold you responsible for things that you say, most people either have burner accounts where they just switch it anyway so they control people uh, or close to it. And they don't have to care about what they say. They can say things without thinking. For me, when I post it, for me, it's like putting a public post up somewhere. That's how I feel like I'm doing. Like I'm buying a marquee or a big billboard and I'm putting my thoughts on there. So then when someone challenges it, then I get a little defensive, especially when they're so wrong and they're accusing me of being wrong or of lying or of having any kind of indecent intentions for what I said because they don't understand it. And so for me, it's like, no, when I go through something like that, because I'm accountable, I'm standing behind what I said. And I'm not saying I won't admit if I'm wrong, but for most people, though, it doesn't matter. You say, what? You're saying I did that? Show me where'd you even get that from? And then they just
Yeah.
disappear. Then what? You
Then
know,
what? Yeah, there's nothing. It's like
right. Some celebrities don't know that enough, and especially like with the OnlyFans, I know that because Katie has a lot of friends that do like the OnlyFans, and she'll tell me all the time like they get way too personal. Like they'll post on there, guys, I'm feeling snotty and having my period today, so I promise I'll post some more content tomorrow, dude. You're gonna be you're accountable for that. You don't want
yeah.
them to be linking those to you as the image that you are, and I don't know. It's all about, like I said, making the right choices.
Right.
Everything
100%.
everything is.
Hmm. And yeah, to your point too, it is circumstantial because if you're a new up and coming talent trying to get your name out there, it's like you might handle social media a little bit differently than say Rob Van Dam or like or Randy Orton, where it's just like it all boils down.
Hey, I mean, and by the way, of course, I don't hate, but
Yeah, right.
no, but I mean, you could be like Val Venus and be like really into your principles, and it's important to you to spread the message of tyranny and conspiracy, or you could be like someone that's like, hey, I just want to get myself over and put neutral comments out there to try to not get any polarizing opinions going against me, and then you play soft like that, and that's cool too. I tend to not be real soft because I stand by things that I believe in, and even though I know that could turn off a lot of people that don't share the same beliefs with me, but it must be important to me that I get that out there when I can. So that's social media is putting you in connection with people that want to follow you, whether they're your peers or fans or family or all the above. People want to contact you. So if someone's just starting out with that, I'd say, "Where the hell you been?" That's what I'd ask them.
Right, right. And hey, there's always a balance of hey, too much is too much, and then there's too little. Maybe like there's always just a balance. So, all right. So it's time for some Ask RVD. I did a whole bunch of screenshots, and I did try to do the caveat of like, hey, Rob favorites changes. If you want to smoke with him, it's hard for that to happen over social media. And then yeah, smoke it up. Otherwise, singlets we have talked about. Everybody keeps asking about that. What's your favorite singlet? All that stuff. So I tried to pick and choose them. So we'll go through a few of these here. And,
Something that I saw. I did an interview with Bill Apter, and it's come out in several parts this week. And I was looking at one today, and a couple of the fans said that my half of my mouth doesn't move. I must have had a stroke. So, and yeah, and looking at it, I'm like, I do talk out of like one side of my mouth more than the other one, you know. Dude, look at me.
So you're fragile, you're overweight. What was the other thing we had too happening? There was something else. Oh, bad lungs, and you might have a stroke.
I got CTE.
Oh, CTE.
Fucking
So much stuff. The weed is killing you. I don't know.
A lot going on over here.
What happening with Rob here? All right. So I don't know what I picked them. I screenshot them. I don't have them titled, so I don't know what they say. So I'll just pop them up, and we'll see what happens. Oh, geez. Okay. Tom talks rubbish here. Does RVD think Dom has what it takes to wrestle? Do I have what it takes, Rob?
No.
No. I agree. I agree. All right. Next one. Sanel Wozniak says, "Sir, what is your daily exercise regimen to keep you athletic? Love from India." Do you have a set routine that you do, or do you mix it up a lot?
Yeah, I mix it up. I stretch, and that's its own thing. And I lift weights, and that's its own thing. And I do cardio, and that is its own thing as well. And then that's as far as exercise. You know, diet, of course, rest is a big part of the whole package. But when I do cardio, I do mix it up, but something that I do that I stick to as a foundation a lot of times, and then we'll add a little to it here or there. But I have the plastic stack of steps, and I have that in my sauna, and I will do steps in my sauna, and I'm always throwing the number around or whatever. But currently, though, when I hit 300, then I'm good. 300 steps, which I can do in sets of 50, or I can do sets of 15 or whatever. I can do it fast, slow, mix it all up, go all the way through, or break it all up, and that's all up to me. And I like to have my sauna gets hotter the longer that I'm in it, because I turn it on, and then as I'm in it, it heats up. So this time of year, because it's cooled down a lot now, it's closer to 80 for the first couple minutes, but then by the time I'm out, it'll be closer to 140 or a little bit above. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. How long does that take you to do typically, too, when you do that?
10 minutes.
Oh, that's it? Okay, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I also have a speed bag in my sauna, but I have to replace the inner tube in it, because the other one has a hole in it, and I have the new tube, but it's a pain in the ass lacing the speed bag back up. At least I think it's going to be. And also, sometimes when I'm motivated, I'll do like burpees or whatever. I took the bench out of my sauna so that I can stretch and have room in there. Mm-hmm. And that's something like that's almost an everydayer. When I'm home and work out, I like to end it in the sauna, because it's just pouring sweat, guaranteed pretty much every time. And sometimes I do kicks in there or whatever. I got this one thing. It's like a little rubber band with a ball. You put everything on your head and you punch it, and it like moves, it like bounces back. Yeah, what's it called? Not a Bozu ball because that's something else, but some name that sounds like that. A Brecker ball, maybe something like that. But it's pretty cool. Like I think I'm gonna buy those as gifts for for other people because it's frustrating at first because like how do they make it look so easy on you on the video, but then you get the hang of it.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, you get the
I'll have
hang
to
of
look
it.
those up. I'm
Try to
interested.
judge the depth of it because it's coming like from your almost your eye, and then
Yeah.
but you call it, you fight, you punch short and you hit the string, then it wraps around your fucking hand and pisses you off.
Fuck. It's like the paddle ball or whatever.
Yeah.
What? How do you break up your muscle groups when you work out? Like when you weightlift and stuff like that. Do you separate them by me being the amateur? I just do back and buys one day, then like tries and chest. Is there a certain aspect that you do that's different, or?
No, I might do just what you said, one time, and the next time I might do chest all by itself, and now I fucked up the whole thing. So the next day I'll do back and tries, and then shoulders and buys, and I'll mix it all up and stuff all the time. So I don't really stick to anything, and usually I go by whatever I feel like, and there's always like a day one when I have been out of town or something and come back home and I feel like I could start fresh, whatever, because it's probably been, who knows, 2 to 4 days maybe since I've been in my gym. So then what do I feel like working out? I really feel like getting a good bicep workout. I feel like doing bicep and chest today. Fuck it, that's what I'm going to do. And then day one kind of sets it up to like after I do whatever I feel like on day one, then I got whatever I got left.
Yeah, and then you just roll it from there. That makes sense. All right, next up. Duarte French says, your moves are so utterly spectacular. Seems like elements of geometry and the forward movement of inertia physics are involved. I'm quite serious. My question stems from the foregoing. How do you calculate your move with such precision? Always in awe watching you in the ring. Is there certain things that you kind of keep in mind, Rob, when it comes to that stuff? Or it's just that's kind of you built the foundation when you were younger doing all that?
I for the most part, it maybe it is being one with energy because I thought about that recently, looking at jumping off the top rope and hitting a frog splash out of the middle of the ring. And I thought about it and I was like, I don't put as much thought into it as you would think to make sure that I cover just the distance. I don't go, 18 inches too far or 18 inches, too light, which once in a great while I have done, usually after getting knocked in the head and I'm loopy spinning. But for the most part, though, it's just kind of bam, like feeling the pathway, I guess, as I'm going, which has to start with the jump. So a lot of that is, I guess, just being in there and we call this ring awareness when you first start your career. I guess at that point of it, you have to be in the ring enough to know without turning around, how far back the rope is, just based on what you see in front of you and peripherally, and all of that just makes so much sense after a while that it's second nature. You don't have to think about it. It's like instinctive. I think that's the answer to how to land a Van Terminator, a 5-star frog splash, certain things like that. Certain moves, though, do take some calculating. Before I do the Van Daminator, I am conscious of how much I'm cocking my kicking foot, because if I don't cock it in enough, then I might extend it too early and thereby miss the target or have to swing the kick to brush by the target and not kicking it exactly how I want to. So I think about that exact motion and visualize with inside feeling how it feels with those muscles flexing, firing, jumping, spinning, kicking. All of that I do go through on something like that. A lot of times on a Rolling Thunder, it's about where I jump. That's inconsistent. I jump sometimes, and I'm like a foot earlier than I am on other times. And so sometimes I'll jump up and my ass will just hit someone right in their face. Bam. And then other times it's like I almost pass him like a swanton, and like my upper body hits him. And ideally I'd rather be like in between, but that one, I feel like that one's fairly inconsistent. I feel like once I start my roll, I don't know if the tuck is different at different times, but it seems like that's the factor, that it's the tuck. And sometimes when I start the tuck, I'm already thinking, oh God, I don't have room to do this. My heels are going to hit him. Like I'm too close. The ring's too small. He's too much in the center. And so then I have those thoughts going against me already sometimes. And then and that keeps me from committing going all the way through, at least to an extent, which can hurt. It can hurt the jump, even if it was going to be clear anyway. It could be not as good as it would have been just because I'm working against myself there. So that's a lot of insight to share with you right there.
Well, how about that? I was going to ask you too, when you're doing the Rolling Thunder, is there a moment too when you kind of realize like, oh, this is not going to be as good as I think it was, or like it, and then it turns out that way? Or is there a moment, or because it sounds like it is kind of like, hey, you're going by it and the moment happens and you might not be aware of it, but are you aware of it at a certain point where you're like, it's not going to be a good one?
It's inconsistent, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's not so much about not being as good or whatever, but sometimes like I'll see that I'm going to land right on his face, and I'll go ahead and bridge and distribute my weight so that I'm not going to break his nose. Yeah. Sometimes, like I think I talked about this before, but like when I was in Impact the first time around, like 2010, 11, 12, I got to where I would roll and I would jump up and I would hit the thumbs and I would try to pause and then tuck real quick. And I started like landing like bam on the back of my head, like right on the guy. And after doing that a few times, then I gave that up. But I wouldn't know until I hit, because it's like, I'm tucking with everything I got, trying hard as I can to roll. Sometimes I would make it, and then other times I'm like, damn, maybe I didn't tuck soon enough, or I thought that I was at the height of my jump too late, or I don't know. But I think overall that the Rolling Thunder is always fairly inconsistent for me, because as long as I can remember doing it, even back in ECW when Sabu would jump over the top rope and do the leg drop to the guy at the same time. Obviously, I couldn't hit his face because Sabu had from his neck up, so I'd have to aim lower. But I mean, sometimes I'd hit him on his legs, sometimes his chest, whatever. Sometimes my legs hit the ropes, and but I like that. It adds a lot of action to it.
And that's the thing too, is like with wrestling, it's got to be rough. It's supposed to look rough. So you're not going to, like, if you hit the legs, it's kind of not that big of a deal, because it's just like,
I'm not trying to look like a gymnast, because I'm not.
And it's not going to be picture perfect. It's like, it's not supposed to be ballet. So, all right, next up, Be More Awesome says, ask RVD, what are your top 5 cities to wrestle in? Hoping Baltimore is one of them. I don't necessarily have to name 5, Rob, but is there some certain cities that stand out to you that you like to go to?
I think, well, Philly's got to be up there. Philly, New York City. Might have to put Battle Creek on there. I don't know. It's cool to go to some cities, and I don't necessarily think about the wrestling as much as just a cool place to go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Las Vegas, before I moved here. Now it's home, so that's super easy. LA, cool place to go to. I always like going to New York City. Like, that's always a treat, and I always try to stay an extra day or two and just hang out and absorb the vibe. It's totally different. It's a different vibe. I know a lot of people from New York City don't like being on the West Coast, and I get that because it's so different, that I can see where they wouldn't be comfortable. But, if I'm really thinking about it, Honolulu was a pretty cool city to wrestle in. A the Canary Islands, Aruba, there's Jamaica.
Ooh, I want to take you.
There's some pretty cool places I can throw out there like that were cool places to go to wrestle, but not necessarily because of the wrestling crowds. But with Philly, though, Philly and New York City, it is a lot about the crowd.
Passionate fan base there.
In Baltimore.
There you go. I was going to ask. I was going to follow up with that for the fan there.
For Jimmy's Seafood.
Yeah, for Jimmy's Seafood. Oh man, Jimmy's Seafood is great. I had the crab cakes I think once, but I want to go back.
all wrestlers go there.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm not much of a seafood eater, but they have a lot of good food anyway.
Yeah, neither am I, but that stuff was good. What was else? Oh, New York City. Did you like wrestling in Madison Square Garden? Did that feel different to you? Was that felt like a big deal? How did that kind of feel when you were able to do that kind of aspect? Because you hear about that all the time. It's like the mecca for WWE and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get heat for not sharing that opinion.
Sure, it was.
But
I get it though. Yeah.
Yeah, what I remember from it was that the dressing room was overcrowded. I think there's like one toilet for everybody to use. In the hallway, even maybe. And I just remember being overcrowded, and I loved being in the city and the energy and everything. But I remember specifically feeling like I was one of the only ones that didn't have that super mark out nostalgia vibe going. So I felt a little left out of the squadron.
I think Nash said on his podcast it was like impossible to get a cup of coffee there. That was a big aspect in Madison Square Garden. Tough to find coffee. And one shitter, that's it?
Just the way I remember it, right now. Maybe one in each dressing room, and there might have been 2 dressing rooms, but sometimes you'd be surprised, even at a big multi-million-dollar production like that, you'd be surprised at how many rooms are so small. You just got to drop your bag off and then leave, and only a couple people at a time can actually get dressed, and they got to go to make room for other people. And I remember MSG being like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of times, I always felt like, the flesh peddlers are probably laughing at us at what we do and what we do it for, the conditions they put us under and what we are doing as what we're doing to ourselves as jobs and for the compensation that the flesh peddlers are probably laughing at because they're the ones that are making the money. And I've always had that perspective, and MSG is one of those buildings that really puts me back into that mindset where I thought, wow, it's not about taking care of us. It's about them making money. That's how I felt, I mean, watch somebody say, what are you talking about? They had the biggest, best, not the way I remember it.
Not what I recall.
The way I remember it being is just, like I said, you got to step over everybody's bag, but everyone else is stoked to be there.
Yeah, like the historic element that comes to it maybe is just stand out to some, but I get it too. It's like if you're there and you're like in the thick of the locker room and it's not that, there's just not the appealing aspects of it. I don't blame you for feeling that way. All right, AJ.
And if Balls is in the building, he's already peed all over the toilet seat anyway.
Yeah, right. So, and that's one toilet that you got. That's it.
Hey, we're fucked.
What are you gonna do?
Somebody has.
Somebody's
sorry, Balls.
On the seats.
That was a thing at one time. Like there was a meeting about that. So.
Paul had to pull everybody aside. Don't want to name any names here, but who's ever pissing on the seat?
It happened when ECW was just brought back to WWE. Yeah, but they used to have meetings more regularly and stuff around that time. But that was brought up one time was that somebody was pissing all over the toilet seats, and they figured it was one of the new ECW guys because all these new guys had just jumped aboard. This was a new problem, and pretty soon everyone was pointing their fingers at one guy.
One guy.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Poor Balls. Dang it. AJ asks, do you believe secondary titles can can be looked at as world titles the way you elevate the TV title in ECW. I think that's always kind of a possible element to it because, I mean, look at what you did for the TV title. Look at what several other wrestlers did for like Intercontinental title. I think that's still a viable thing today in wrestling.
I would imagine it would be more about that particular championship reign.
Mm-hmm.
The ECW television championship reign that I had was the best wrestling in ECW ever, not subjectively, fact.
Factual.
Yeah. But with a certain percentage of the crowd, they're always going to look at the company's heavyweight championship as the big one. There's going to be a certain part of the crowd that's always going to have that mindset, I believe, regardless.
Right. Somebody, I didn't screenshot this one, but somebody asked, I believe, too. Do you consider yourself a Triple Crown champion in ECW after winning it in 2006 too overall? I mean, I don't see why not, right?
I don't know. I don't consider myself a Triple Crown champion. Maybe I should. Let's see. Because of Impact, I guess. Is that
I think they're talking about ECW specifically because you won the world title, you won the TV title, and then you won the tag. So that's what I was thinking that they meant.
If they meant that, then wouldn't I have to have them all at the same time?
No, I don't think so. Oh, that's a good question.
I think a Triple Crown champion would be someone that's reigning.
You hold them out at the same time?
Yeah, like I did have the TV title and the tag belts at the same time. I was a double crown champion. Made it several times in my career.
Yeah. Hardcore Intercontinental too. All that stuff. Interesting. Boom, boom.
But so, yeah, I think if I had the ECW title and the WWE title at the same time, that's, I guess, as far as that one goes. So, yeah, maybe we don't understand it. And that's, but no, I don't consider myself that. Maybe I should.
Yeah, I never really thought about it until.
Or considering myself that.
Yeah. I'm just going to start calling you that every time we intro the podcast now. Triple Crown champ, Robbie the Barber Beefcake.
There we go.
Francis Reyes says, any fun UK stories you can share? How was your time over in the UK, Rob?
I've had a lot of fun in the UK. I've had a lot of trips in the UK. Man, the one that just popped in my head, was this the UK? Because it was with the promoter from Portugal, my friend. But this, let me see, from the UK. Let's see. I was in the UK recently. We were in Scotland, and we went to Ireland. Even though I missed the signing, I sucked. That was like the second or third time I've done that. I think I've done that once since then. Didn't I do that recently, or I almost did? Or
Ireland, or like?
Yeah, well, never mind. Let's not bring that up right now. Anyway,
okay.
Like, it really sticks out of my mind if I can't remember. Anyway, well, I'm just thinking fuck, so many. We told that story about the coffin match that was in the UK.
Oh yeah.
Let's see, the guy from Ireland, Joey, used to book us all the time and book us all around. Rikishi booked us all around Spain and Italy. Had some great times over there. Just, when they said funny story, I just don't know what. This was in Spain, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Spain is part of the UK, actually.
No, it's not, but it's Europe, so.
But it was okay, yeah. But we just crossed the border. We weren't in Spain. I think we were in. I don't know if we were in Portugal. I think we were in Portugal, and we crossed the border to go to Spain because there was a McDonald's that was open. It was the only thing that was open that we could find. It was after the matches, and just like I was talking about before, it was one of those buildings where you don't have a 5-star fucking shower situation there. So we went to McDonald's. We're all starving. We told the promoter, get us some food. We're starving. We went, and McDonald's said they were closed to come inside. Only the drive-thru was open. So all of us wrestlers went and stood in the drive-thru. And what makes it extra funny is that we all had our wrestling gear on. So, so I'm standing there with my shin pads full, everything, behind Sabu and behind, everybody, with a car in front of our group and a car behind our group, just, laughing at us or whatever, till it was our turn to go up to the window and be like, take a classic Royale with cheese. And I have that videotaped on one of my RVD TV episodes.
Yeah, do you? That's great. Oh, man.
I remember one time Rene Dupree and myself were up in my motel room, and he was just starting to smoke with me a little bit. And this was in WWE, but we were in the UK.
Okay.
Where are we at? Are we in Ireland? We might be in Ireland, which Ireland isn't the UK. No, Ireland is
Ireland's UK.
North Ireland also, or they're different? Anyway,
I believe they're both there. I think.
okay, the currency's different in North Ireland, and I thought.
Okay.
Anyway, God dang it. I don't know why I think we're in Ireland, but we're somewhere in the UK, and we're in the room, and I'm talking to Renee in my room and lit this joint up, and and he's a young boy. I mean, he's probably 19, 20. He was really young and scared and trying not to get heat or whatever. But my smoke detector went off, right?
Uh-huh.
Beep. And when it did that, I thought, oh, fuck, let me get this, because it happened earlier in the day, too.
Yeah.
Then I just set the joint down. I got the towel, started fanning it off. I was like, and it stopped. And I started saying, yeah, that fucking happened earlier. And I turned around, and Renee was gone. He fucking boom, like he split. As soon as the thing went off, he was out of there. And it was so funny because I didn't see him again. And it was like an hour or two later, my phone rang in my room, and Renee was whispering, "Are you okay?" I said, "Hi. Are you okay?" "Yeah, dude, what'd you do, man? I just fanned it off. It only took a second." "As long as you're okay." That was so funny. Yeah. And on the bus, we heard a couple other guys. Velvenus was one of them, I think, and two other people that smoked that thought they set it off. They thought they set it off. They were, they were in somebody's bathroom, and it went off at the same time. I never told them that was me, but
Yeah.
I can't remember who that was. X-Pac, probably Velvenus, and somebody. Was Godfather on that trip? I don't remember doing it with him, but it seems like it was him. Anyway, that was a pretty funny thing, because they were talking about it at the breakfast buffet with all the wrestlers the next day. Anybody get to sleep with that smoke, with that fire alarm last night? Jesus Christ.
I don't know what you're talking about. So I've heard that Sean Waltman has the best weed a lot of the times. Is that true?
Dude, everyone says they got the best weed.
I guess that's fair.
Isn't it all the same? Aren't we getting it from the same places?
Right. All right, next up. Mike says, Mod Third, do you believe WWE made a mistake not having you beat Austin for the belt in 2001? Seemed like the audience was ready for that moment due to the connection you quickly made with them. I mean, Rob, we've talked about before, you were pretty damn hot going into the invasion angle. Not only did you have the match with Jeff, the hardcore title match with Jeff, but we rewatched some of that angle with you and Austin, and you were hot there too. Do you think they messed up, or do you think that was the right time to put the rocket on your back, so to speak?
No, I don't think they made a mistake. I think that they probably made millions and millions of dollars off continuing to push Steve Austin. You know, it would have been great for my story and for my pathway, sure, but that is a pretty basic thinker's way for me to look at it, just how it would affect me. And overall, who am I to say? What you want me to say? I guarantee I would have sold more tickets than Stone Cold Steve Austin. Fuck that. Where's the record on that? You know.
Yeah. And you know what, too? It's like the fact that you were working in that program, it doesn't necessarily mean that you had to have won the title. It just means like you were up there. And
Hey, it would have been cool.
it would have been cool, but
Sure.
it would have been great. But like they could always came back to it too, and eventually they did come back to you getting the title. So
True. And that time I had it was a lot better for me because I changed the entire playing field by bringing ECW back and then being the best representative to show how fucking good ECW could be. So when I got my next shot at the championship, I was on fire, way more comfortable with my position in the industry than I was back when I was doing 3-man matches with Kurt Angle and Steve Austin, and you know, wondering what they were doing with me.
exactly, yeah. And the fact is too, it's like you had that ECW fan base growing back up and heating back up, and on top of it too, you had the element of like John Cena being like this Boy Scout of a babyface in certain ways, and it's just like that. Those differences, you had those coming into play too. It's a perfect storm in a lot of ways.
And let's face it, like after so many years, I mean, I came in 2001, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
we didn't get the ECW cook until, was it 2006?
5, right? Well,
So
first one.
I mean, basically, that's 5 years of extreme oppression
Yeah. Right.
for me, for all the fans that loved ECW. We felt that oppression, and it was just like the ECW one night stand was a chance to release all that tension that was built up and our express how we felt about that. And so, man, there was so much going into that that represented all of that, not just a third brand, right?
No, there was a lot more elements that paid off for fans, paid off for you guys. It was really honestly a perfect storm. It was very
Yeah.
exciting time too. So cool.
Yes.
Do a few more of these. Let's see here. Boba Fetty Wap. Oh, that's a good name. Boba Fetty Wap.
Yeah, I like it.
What's the craziest idea for a match or pitch that never made it to the public while at ECW? Is there something wild that you remember, Rob, that was just like, whoa, I can't believe we pitched that and it didn't come to fruition? I mean, ECW was crazy in itself to do a lot of stuff, but is there something?
Man, I'm trying to think. I'm scanning through my memories, and I don't know. I'm sure outside of my own pathway that there was probably matches in Tommy Dreamer's career there that were suggested and turned down. He would have been someone that would have been more on the creative input side of giving a fuck and wanting to express himself in those ways. I can't think myself of any. Nothing that comes to mind. You know, like it would. If there's something that's hidden in there pretty deep.
Yeah. So, is there like a certain veteran talent that maybe came in that were like, hey, let's incorporate him into this? Like, I know, like, it's kind of wild to think like I remember Rick Rude being in there and Bam Bam, obviously, and Jake Snake made appearances. Anybody like that kind of stand out and be like, whoa, they had this idea and this never happened, you know?
How about RVD versus Jesse James?
Ooh,
That match never happened. That was an idea.
really?
That was when I left. When I left the WWE Invasion.
Yeah, that's right.
Brian Armstrong. Yeah, I was supposed to
Yeah.
wrestle him, and then we packed up and amscrayed out the back door. But
Am on grade.
there's one idea for a match that didn't happen that comes to mind.
Yeah, there you go.
I remember for a while it seems like we were doing more and more out in the parking lot. It seems like must have been the first year I was in ECW, maybe the second year, definitely towards the newer part where that whole style and area of the country was new to me. But it seemed like every week we'd be going out to the parking lot and fighting like between the cars and stuff and more. And then there was like ideas sometimes out there of stupid things, moonsaulting off of the cars and stuff. But you just do it, it's not like something you really talk about or have to. And then I remember like they caught some of it on TV on the early ECW TV programs, and then it seemed to go away, like almost like we grew to a point to where we should keep our show inside. I don't know if somebody or something unintentionally got damaged outside, but that was really weird for a while. I remember that was part of the not just taking a walk through the stands or going and knocking the garbage can over by the concession stand, but actually going out into the parking lot where there's no way the fans can possibly see you unless they follow you out there. Yeah.
It just became a trend for a little bit, huh?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I'm glad it stopped.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, you mentioned this one on an earlier episode. How was your time in TNA with Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff around that time? So we mentioned your first run in TNA, and I know you talked about this before on like one of our first episodes that we did. But any follow up to that of your experience with Eric and Hulk there?
I felt, like those guys treated me like friends mostly. And there wasn't a whole lot more to it than that, like I don't remember a whole lot of business talk. I do remember one time Eric telling me that I had really stepped it up in my promos. He was like, I don't know what it is, but lately you've just been knocking them out of the park. Cause I just started like shooting on everybody and doing like just straight up shoot promos. I guess maybe I turned heel. I don't know. It seems like in my mind, like maybe I turned heel because I remember, saying to Hulk Hogan, not everyone can make a living off doing one move, Hulky, and threw the microphone at him. And I remember talking to Sting and saying, like, nobody knew who I was when I was on the undercard way back. And I do remember that, like thinking that, like, everyone's here in Indianapolis at the Speedway when I was in WCW in 92, 93, actually. Just the beginning of it, to see everyone's there to see Sting, and they're so excited to see the popular names on it. And I just felt like, man, that must be so awesome to be that over, because I was still working to introduce myself every night and feeling like I deserved more praise. So my ego was telling me like, wouldn't you rather see me backflips and spin kicks than woo, chop? But I was still trying to figure all that out. But I brought that up in the promos and I was having fun with it. I remember Eric telling me that. And then I also remember him saying one time that I always had such positive energy that I always seemed like I was in a good mood and rubbed off on people that way. And, certain people tell me that, and I remember it when they tell me that, because especially when I'm thinking like, wow, that's amazing, because that's not how I feel.
Right. It's like, but you give that off that vibe and stuff like that. And Eric's very much like that too. I've noticed when I've interacted with him, he's got that. He's very recognizable of that stuff. So that's pretty cool. He did mention that to you.
Yeah. Actually, for a minute there, Eric and Hulk were going to this spiritual church in LA and inviting me out there because we were all into just manifestation and the law of attraction, from The Secret. And one of those guys from The Secret actually was a preacher at this church. One of the authors from it, I'm gonna fuck his name up, so I don't. But anyway, that was like something we all had in common. Yeah. And one time I rode on an airplane with just me and Bischoff and Hulk, and that was in WWE. I think it was WWE.
Was it like 2002-ish?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
I really don't know. And I can't remember what it was for, but it was like, but we were all going from wherever we were in the middle of the country to the Northeast. And then me and Hulk rode it back, and Eric wasn't coming back for some reason. But it was a private little jet, which I haven't been in too many times, but I just don't remember exactly. I think it was a press conference in Savannah, Georgia, maybe.
Huh.
With Dan Masters there. No, that was a different one. That was a different ride. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Paul Heyman was on that flight. Anyway, it was cool working with them. You know, I think they treat me more like peers.
Yeah.
I remember one time giving the nuts to Hulk, bam, and he was just like, Jesus. He was like, oh, man. He's like, Biff, I hate to work with you. You'd hurt me. And nailed him with my big, bony, cinder black hands. Just bam. What's up, Hulk?
Brother. Hey, dude. All right. I like it. Boy, that would have been the devil. If you teamed together, that would have been the thing to do right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd have been cool.
All right. What is RVD's favorite New Jack story?
Favorite New Jack story. Well, a lot of people think that it's disrespectful to say anything about the past, but this is just the story, and it was the way he was. So I don't think he would apologize if he was here. He was mad at Brian Pillman. Remember in ECW, one time I carried Brian Pillman, I pushed him in a wheelchair out to the ring.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Real early, must have been 97. I was still getting to know everybody. I was new and young there, but Pillman got heat with New Jack. The way I understand it, Pillman got on the mic to do a promo and to get attention in the back there. And as I understand it, he used the N-word and said from NWA, you know, with attitude. So that's the way I heard it, but I heard New Jack was really pissed. I didn't know about it while we're out there, whatever.
So Pillman was referencing the rap group with Ice Cube and Eazy-E.
He used that reference in a promo.
Okay.
Don't know what he was talking about or whatever. Don't even know for sure that's true, but that's the way that I was told. And when we went back to the dressing room, New Jack wanted to fight him. And I thought it was funny because dude's like in a wheelchair, like tied in, and he's like, his eyes are open, Brian's like he's waiting, you know, to see if he has to duck or move or whatever, waiting for the attack. And New Jack's up on his feet, you know, like, you know, very animated, and people are holding him back, you know, come on, motherfucker, let's see. And it was like, oh my God, he's gonna fight him in a wheelchair. And it was like, it was a really tense moment, right?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that much about what was going on there, but Pillman gets in an accident, crashing the tree. I guess that's what put him in the wheelchair. Anyway, he dies.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all in a hotel room, a bunch of us wrestlers, I believe at the Marriott in Philadelphia. Some of us that aren't normally in a room together. Sometimes that would happen. Different cliques sometimes would just end up, especially if there's a lot of us. And if someone had pizza or something.
Yeah.
But
that brings everybody together.
yeah. The subject comes up because Pillman that was just news, you know, like someone had just heard, like it was just news that day. This is after the show at nighttime. And I'm in the room, and New Jack's in the room. And I really don't remember who else is in there. I think Louis in there. I don't even know for sure. But they talk about Pillman, and it was obvious that New Jack had a lot of animosity still for this guy, you know, because he said some things that I wasn't prepared to hear, you know, and it kind of caught me off guard just because, like I said, you know, some people feel like you shouldn't talk disrespectfully about the dead. Some people feel like, you know, I personally, my ideology that I share with everybody now, there are no absolutes. And everything is circumstantial, everything is subjective. So I don't have any rules like that. But some people, you know, they'll just be like, my mom always said, don't let anybody talk bad about, you know, your family or whatever. You know, that's, you got to apply shit in real life to learn that there are no absolutes. But this was something that I wasn't prepared to hear, and I didn't know hadn't come to terms with my ideology yet, you know, that I would learn later in life through experience. But what I remember, someone brought up Pillman, said that, you know, he died that day, and everyone was just, we're down. We're just like, oh my God, that is so, you know, I didn't even know him super well, but he was a big star. He inspired me. He was Flying Brian. He was one of the guys that closed that gap, you know, between the 220-pound guys and the main eventers, you know. And anyway, New Jack out of nowhere goes, good. I hope he did die. I hope he died. If he didn't die yet, then I hope he do die. And I hope he in the ground right now. And I hope worms are eating his eyeballs. And we're just all like,
damn.
It was just like silent awkwardness. And it was like, I think I feel offended. Didn't really know how to react to it. You know what I mean? But, that's my favorite New Jack story. You know, nobody threw cuffs, nobody threw fists or anything, but he said what he wanted to say. And we all felt however we felt about it, you know, and it just kind of like passed. But I'll always remember that because, you know, I used that to judge him and to make my opinion of who the guy is.
Yeah.
Of course I did.
Yeah. Man, I know what you mentioned earlier too in this. Might have been our first episode that he punched Junkyard Dog and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He come up on me. He come up on me.
Yeah. You ever see Sabu just say that to him? So he come up on me.
I'll have to. I hope I get to see him. I'll say it to him. He come up on me.
But you know what? That's me being a mark going, that's JYD. Yeah. But in reality, you know, whatever their relationship was different. It wasn't about JYD being the cartoon character that we loved. It was about something between them two, but I was out of the frame. So that's just like when somebody didn't like my comments about Scott Hall on my RVDology, and I didn't even say anything really bad about him, you know.
You said it on one of our episodes?
It was on my YouTube page.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, you know, those comments always stick out. You know, some people were like, hey, I don't care what it is, man. You don't say nothing disrespectful about a man once he's gone. And I was like, you forget, to you, he was another wrestler. To me, he was a peer, someone I worked with.
It's just, it's different. It's a different relationship.
But that's how it was with New Jack and Junkyard Dog, and I see that now.
Yeah. All right. We'll just do two more here. Okay. Marie asks, what X-Men character would you want to be? Were you a fan of the X-Men, Rob?
Sure. I love the movies.
Oh, yeah.
I loved the X-Men always, but they weren't my favorites because they were everybody else's favorites. Everyone loved Wolverine, so I tended to, go towards Ghost Rider. Yep. Also Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk, but the X-Men were cool. I had some old 12-cent comics. Probably still have them, actually. I should see what comics I still have. I have several boxes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, just stuff I hold on to, but got rid of a lot of the superfluous stuff, the statues and bunch of that crap. But now they're just in a closet boxes. But I don't know if I've thought about it before. But before you ask, I'm guessing maybe Nightcrawler.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking too, and in the movies, I know he had to see where he was going to get there. So
Which was it not that way in the comics?
I think it was that way. I was just mostly I became more familiar with him starting in the movies than I was because I grew up as a kid watching the cartoon, and he wasn't really in the cartoon that much.
I always pictured if I had the power of teleportation, it would require me seeing my destination as opposed to being like, I want to be in Madrid. Spain.
Yeah, I think that's the same for I would imagine that's the same for the comics. But he was that's a good choice. That's a really good choice.
Yeah, I love the way I love the way they captured that in the movie. They made it look so badass.
It was it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was awesome. I grew up a huge X-Men fan, so like Gambit was my favorite. I'm trying to think. Obviously, Wolverine people like.
I was thinking you're going to ask me who my favorite is, but also I guess that's the answer to the question too. Maybe if
would it be Nightcrawler then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be able to teleport. And I want to be blue.
Okay with the blue skin and the devil tail?
Yeah, man. Abso-Smurfly.
Fantastic. Fucking hey. Cyclops would be a rough one because you can't open your eyes. You have to have the
right. So yeah, that's not worth it.
Not want that. Not want that. I don't care if I have lasers. All right, last one here.
Most people would say Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine would be one.
For generations to get to see everyone that you love die over and over again.
Right, you're living like 200 years. Like it hurts every time the claws come out. I don't want that. Let's see.
He's a troubled soul.
Yes, he is a troubled soul. All right, let's go with this one then. Jake Paparolado says, I heard you mention having boxes of VHS tapes back in the day. You wouldn't happen to have the full entire show you talked about recently from Aruba in 1995, Eddie Mansfield, IWF, where you wrestled twice versus Dick Slater, then a tag match with Marty Jannetty.
No, that's absolutely correct. That is what I said. That is what happened. But no, I don't. I've never seen that footage. So I've never owned it. No one's ever given me a copy of it.
YouTube Chris doesn't have it then?
We could ask him.
We'll have to touch base with him.
By the way, I don't know if we talked about this, but people have often told me cagematch.com will have like everything. And I tried it once recently and it didn't have what I was looking for. So it's definitely not absolute.
Not absolute.
There are none.
Not out there. Okay. I wanted to throw this one in before we ended it. I saw this picture. Jada asks, okay, but when you got the spinner belt, were you really excited to actually be the first one to spin the belt? Or did you realize it spin when you held the title in this moment? I need to know. Did you know it spin, Rob?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I knew that it was referred to as the spinner belt. And I think I had seen Cena spin it. Didn't he? He spun it, right?
Oh, yeah, he spun it because it was on his waist. He had the United States title like that too before. So
yeah,
he set a precedent already.
I can't believe how over that was. How much people love that.
That's like the best gift.
It became a classic.
All right, Rob. It's time to wrap it up. Do you have an RVDology this week?
I do. I do. Right. And I've been enjoying the feedback that I get more and more from either YouTube comments or people telling me when they see me at the signings or whatever. It's great when people go out of their way to tell me, like, dude, you don't know how much I needed that, or that really helped me at a time when I needed it, or anything like that, man. That goes so far with me because that's my intention. That's how I'm inspired to do it, is only by reaching people that could benefit from hearing it. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time and I'd rather not do it.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. Last week we talked about, let's see, we were talking about
being proud, pride and proud.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me for anybody that wasn't here, I just like to sum it up. I was last week we were talking about being proud and pride that's installed in you, And my ideology is you need to keep that in check. I think it gets way out of control. I think that everybody wants to be part of something positive. Everybody wants to join something and a group that's a winner. That's why we have pride over the stupidest things that we really shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, get a group of people and say, "Hey, people whose name begin with the letter A are the best." Yeah,
Team
yay,
A.
rule. Like, really, what are you taking pride in, and what does that mean? So I was saying it should mean that you're at least as good as everyone else, because if it means that you're better than everyone else and you're installing pride over every little fact that just happens to circumstantially be part of somebody's being, then you're really building that person up to be confused about their perspective, their relationship with the universe, and really their status overall, because you don't have to be overly proud of everything over stuff you didn't do. That's not saying you should be ashamed, and it's not just being proud and then being ashamed, but it's like, keep it in check. And I said this, I said, we're all biased in a way to where we think that our values, our decisions are the best. We always, that's why every argument is like, why did you go that way? Or why did you say that instead of this? Because you made a decision that I didn't make, so it confuses me. And if you don't believe me that you're biased, let me put it to you in the most basic equation I can think of for the basic thinkers, okay? When it comes to survival, all right, there's just you're a fucking caveman, and there's another caveman, and you're the only two people on the planet. One of you is going to die. You're about to fight to death. Do you care who wins? You do.
You do. Yeah.
Survival is the first instinct for basic thinkers. It's also our first bias, is like whatever we're going to do to protect our longevity and keep ourselves living, we're going to do that. So that's just on the basic level. Did any of that pride happen to wreak its way into your week?
It sure did. So like this week, I am if people are hearing this on Premier Streaming Network right now, today was my last day at Inside the Ropes. So it ended positively, like no negative terms or anything like that. It just things were changing for them, and I had to move on, and so it makes sense. Now I could take that from a pride aspect. It's like, oh man, that hurts to no longer be there, to not kind of aspect. Like, what is there something that I caused to have that happen, or for me to move on? Look at myself in a certain way like that. But and it can hurt. It can kind of hurt my pride at certain points. But it's also, you think about it, it's just like that's the name of the game, especially in like the freelance writing business. Is like things happen, things change, and aspects change, and I don't necessarily look at it as like something that hurts my pride. And me moving on to me knowing this as the week has gone on, like I still wanted to take pride in the work that I did and put it out through any articles that I wrote or anything like that. And so I kind of made that connection in a lot of ways, especially thinking about it today, where I was like, wow, you know what? I could have like just been like, well, screw this, I'm leaving. But no, I liked who I worked with. I liked my boss. I liked everything of the job, and we ended on good terms. And I wanted to make sure I ended on good terms. So
Cool.
Pride was a big aspect of it this week. So yeah.
Cool. Well, you should be proud of the way you handled that.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
So
cool.
All right. Well, what do you got for us this week on RVDology?
I mentioned, that we judge all the time, and there's an expression, it's a disclaimer really, that a lot of people say, and it's, I don't judge, but really everybody judges. If you say I don't judge, I think maybe you mean I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to punish you for it by treating you any differently. But I don't judge. Of course you do, because as I said, we're biased towards our own values. So when we hear that somebody else does something that's different than we do, we automatically judge them. It's like a self operating brain mechanism that we don't even try to do. You go by a dude on the sidewalk that says, hey man, you got $5 so I can get some gas? And you look at him, it looks like he hasn't changed his clothes in days. I mean, you can tell yourself that you're not judging that person to try to feel better about yourself, but I feel like it's superficial. At least that's my ideology on this whole subject. Is I come to terms with I do judge. We all judge, and that's normal. It's normal to judge, but we judge on such an inner level place that we don't have to share it unless we're like stupidly overly honest like me and feel like sharing the deepest thoughts when they're coming together, because I like to share insight. But opinions, everyone's opinions, we're going to judge. Are you telling me like I don't judge, really? So you mean if you hear like, hey, my cousin's going along on the trip with us, I hope you don't mind, but he's a child molester. You're gonna say, "Oh no, I don't judge." I doubt it. He's he's a murderer and he likes to shoot meth like round the clock. So mostly he won't be much of a problem. But no, you're gonna judge. The further it is away from your decisions and your choices, the more you're going to judge. And doesn't mean that you're going to fine them, criminalize them, anything like that. But in the court of your mind, if you hear anything, if you hear so and so was a bully at school and got in trouble for bullying at school, you might automatically in the court in your mind judge that person like, oh, that person's a bully. But it's only the court of your mind, so don't give it too much because you don't know all the facts. The case hasn't been presented. There's been no trial. You don't know. There's maybe she just used some certain words and they define that as bullying. I don't know. I know when I was a kid, we said all kinds of stupid, whatever was hurtful stuff. Make fun of the really poor kids for being poor. You can't even take a bath. You got to go to the Y Center. That's not really that funny now as an adult. But as kids, you do stupid things like that. But you know what? I was also judging them. I was judging them for being poor. So the older that I've gotten, the more I'm alive, the more experienced I am, and the more that I share my ideology with everybody, I can be comfortable saying that's something to just get a grip on. Don't tell yourself that you don't judge. I mean, come on. Your neighbor wants to borrow your phone. You never met this motherfucker before. He looks shady as fuck. What are you gonna do? You're gonna say, "Oh, I don't judge. Here you go." We judge what you do with that judgment. Now that's up to you. Bam, that's a whole nother subject. But you do make a judgment. Sometimes you're afraid that you're being judged when you're being asked a question. And so you don't even answer the right question. You answer something else because you think you're being judged for it. You know what I mean? Say a question is, I don't know, just trying to think of an example. Say someone asks like, are you gonna wear those shoes tonight? And the person automatically it thinks they're being judged. So instead of saying yes or no, they're gonna wear those shoes. They're like, they're the only ones I have. Or they're like, all my other shoes are out or whatever. Whoa. I just wanted to know if you were bringing those because if you're bringing them, I'll pack them. You know what I mean? Like totally like you have a different meaning now because you're afraid that you're being judged by the question and you're trying to find the intention and the meaning of the question based on being judged. And really you might not even be. That's an example of not having all the information, Were you there last night? Simple question. I'm just curious if you were there last night. Maybe I want to know because I'm going to ask you if you saw so and so, whatever. But then if you're like, what was I supposed to do? Wait around for you all night? Boom, boom, boom. Hey, that's being afraid of being judged. That's extra sensitivity to being judged. When in fact, you got to be open. Katie and I have a rule, pretty much an unwritten rule. No question is too stupid. She can, and you know, if either one of us either makes fun of the other one, that's just say, hey, we can ask anything, and then it's like, oh yeah, you're right. And I don't judge like why she's asking me for, you know, say I'm on my phone or whatever, and and she can't see what I'm looking at on my phone. I'm sliding through, and she says, "This is an example." But say if she were to say, you know, like, "What are you looking at?" Like, I wouldn't automatically be like, oh, "She doesn't trust me," you know, like she thinks that I'm looking at other. But you know, I've been in other relationships where there's no trust, and that would be behind every single thing that was said. So I get where you can like feed into that vibe, but it's one of those things where, as I always say, it's best to have no expectations. You know, if she says, "What are you looking at?" Boom, I'll just show her. You know, look at these baby otters or whatever it is. Yeah, and then, you know, thereby removing suspicion, but also keeping the floor open so that we don't ever have to feel funny about asking any kinds of questions for whatever reason. We don't have to worry about being prejudged with our answers. We can just be open about it, and that's important to me. You know, you don't know all the facts. It's not a real case. Like I said earlier, when New Jack said, I hope he buried right now, and I hope worms eating his eyeballs." I absolutely judged him. I didn't know him that well. That was one of the only times up till that point for sure that I'd been alone with him and stuff. So of course, that was almost my entire opinion based on that. That and the new, what's that transit incident, whatever they called it at the
Oh,
Greyhound.
mass transit or the yeah. Mhm.
There was that, you know, which I was in the dressing room then, and he was screaming in the dressing room afterwards. Good. I hope he die. I hope he die, about a kid that he had just gaffed, you know. I judged him by that too. So I'm not going to lie. I did judge him, you know. In the end, in the big picture, I also judged him on some other things because I got to talk to him, got to know him, hang out with him a few times, see him on a different level, and, communicate as a peer in the same industry. And so I use a lot of that to judge him on as well. And a lot of that offsets some of the thoughts that I had put in my mind before, or that I had allowed in my mind before, mistake or not, you know. But you never have the whole information. You never have the whole big picture. There's always more that you don't know. You always know a lot less than there is to know about everything and everyone. And, you know, keep all that in mind. And when it comes to judging, dude, you judge. If you want to keep your judgments to yourself, I'm cool with that. But between you and I, we all judge.
100% we do, you know? And that it's almost like an instinctual thing that happens in a lot of ways because you just see something and then, okay, that's how I feel about it. But I think it's another layer of thinking about it being like, well, I just don't know the whole picture of this situation or that person or whatever it may be. And like, I'm making this judgment based on maybe what somebody else is saying or just under this kind of first impression aspect of it too. So it's like, definitely be cognizant of that. Yeah.
Keep it in check. Don't be so quick to throw the gavel down on your judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But be aware, you know, that it's not a bad thing to judge somebody. You get your opinion on them. To hold that judgment against them, well, that's circumstantial and subjective, just like everything else.
Right, and you said it mentioned like somebody like a bully. Oh, this guy was a bully. Or this person was a bully. Well, heck, like when were they a bully? Was that in high school? They could have totally changed at that point in time. You know, it's like can't just go by some of that stuff sometimes. You know,
Word.
word up, man. So cool, guys. If you like what you're seeing, you can check it out early on the Premier Streaming Network every Friday at 4:20 p.m. But you can check us out anywhere, anytime, starting Monday at 4:20 p.m. too. That's when drops on the podcast feed. If you guys like what you're hearing, give us some ratings on I never plug this, so give us some ratings on iTunes, on Apple iTunes. Write a good review for us if you like what you're hearing. Check us out on Spotify. or wherever you get your podcast. But you can get the clips up at rvdpod.com. Like and comment on there. Share with your friends. Share with your enemies. Do it all you can.
Share with people you meet over the next week.
People you meet, even if they're non-wrestling fans, say, hey, we got a good guy on here. He's a pro wrestler, and he gives us some good advice. It's Rob Van Dam. Check out rvdpod.com.
Let's talk about doing a live show pretty soon, because my YouTube page has over the goal of 30,000.
Oh, so we're over 30,000 now. Nice.
Yeah. So
oh yeah.
let's
Okay.
Talk about that real soon.
Yes, we'll have to definitely do that. So you can follow Rob there at The Real RVD. You can follow me at Dominic D'Angelo. And hey, guys, thanks for joining us this week. It's been a fun one. Episode 22 is in the books. I can't wait to see it's episode 23 next week, Rob.
Boom.
Boom.
Right. Thanks, Tom. Talk to you next week.
Heck yeah. See you guys next week.
Excellent.